Hello everyone, this is Dragon Veils. I hope y'all are doing well. Welcome back to my channel, and once again I am going to do another couples ranking video. That is right, I am now doing a video where I rank couples from the most healthy to the most toxic. What exactly I'm going to do in terms of the fandom? Well, this one I don't normally do, but Helluva Boss has become a very interesting show in regards to the fact that you have various kinds of couple depending on where it all happens. And despite of this all being about demons and a lot of other stuff, this is very interesting in terms of the relationships, varying from healthy to the most toxic. So without further ado, let's begin, and bear in mind, these are my opinions alone. Might as well kick this list off with these two. Moxie and Millie are literal couple goals. They respect and value each other. Whenever Moxie suffers a stroke of bad luck, and while he is not the most strongest of the group, he becomes the voice of reason for everyone, especially for Millie, who has very reckless and wild tendencies. As well as for Millie, she supports all of Moxie's flaws. To an extent, if some of you saw Season 2, Episode 2, Seeing Stars. As well as, while Moxie is not the physically strongest, he's one hell of a husband, practically risking his life to go save Millie whenever possible, and vice versa. It's even up to the point that their pairing has been well admired by none other than their boss, Blitz. He would mercilessly follow them wherever he goes, and despite of how he practically makes fun of their monogamy, he still follows them because he just secretly ships them. And one of the biggest highlights of their relationship was in Season 1, Episode 7, Ozzy's, where Fizz and Ozzy decide to make fun of Moxie's romantic song that he did for their anniversary. And despite their constant begging for a more sexualized song, Moxie would continue to be true to himself, and even Millie went as far as beating up Fizz when they made fun of his song. So overall, these two are the epiphany of what a healthy relationship is. And it's pretty crazy that they've been only married for 1 year, but already they act like a well-meaning couple that respect each other's flaws, their personal space, as well as we're going to probably see some growth later in the future, as well as they're complementary to each other. Now, we have other couples that are a bit more interesting in terms of that, but we'll get to that soon enough. Okay, so we don't know anything much about these two, and I kind of put them in like somewhat healthy on this list because of their many fans have been pointing out that this is a parallel relationship between Stolas and Blitz, and it seems somewhat healthy. So anyway, we have Viscerali and Osmodius, two demons of different classes that seem to respect each other, and they've only been debuted in one episode alone. They seem to complement each other very well as the fact that they seem almost in sync when they were calling Moxie and Millie out for their song. However, they seem to secretly cheer for them think about it, it kind of makes a legit sense. After all, if they have a healthy relationship, I'm pretty sure they secretly cheer on Moxie's and Millie's in terms of admiration. However, the downside with their relationship is they could have been a bit nicer of how to set up the approach. I get it, this is a club that involves lust, but it would be something that they could have at least considered in a more subtle approach without being so offensive about it. So yeah, I feel like with season 3 might give a clearer understanding of how they are in this relationship. I thought to include them because it'd be crazy not to, and I'd love to see more of how their relationship goes from here. So this is just speculation and everything else. Yeah, this ship is very complicated in more ways than one, and probably the most controversial thus far in the series, and many of you can understand why. So in the beginning, it didn't come off as very favorable, mostly because of the circumstances behind the relationship. It comes off as more of a bargain, the book for a night of hooking up, much to Stolas' delight and Blitzo's chagrin. Even in the pilot, I didn't think that this was going to be a relationship worth going on. However, things begin to change as we begin to watch these two develop as characters. Blitzo having many issues with his relationships, which I'm going to get to later, as well as Stolas becoming a bit more of a character, to say the least. So in Truth Seekers, when these two are reflecting their own emotions, Blitz admits to himself that he's attracted to Stolas in a certain way. As for Stolas, his is a very interesting connection to Blitz. When he was a kid, he was born into a loveless marriage and had to take royal responsibilities at a very young age. So, of course, he doesn't have a whole lot of friends, and his social understanding and social cues of people, especially those that are different from him, makes it very hard for him to connect. And, well, to make matters worse, he's forced to actually marry Scream Queen Stella at a very young age, like asked to be married to a lady who will try to kill you. Ugh. However, things definitely took a while to change the moment Blitz came into his life. He was the only person that wanted Stolas to actually be heard, or at least allowed Stolas to think for himself for a little bit, and make it feel like it was okay to do so. As for Blitz, even though it came off as more of just stealing stuff at first, he started to have some form of connection. What happened to it later, we don't know. And later on, Stolas only found one comfort in his life aside from Blitz, and that was Octavia. Overall, this guy's life is insanely sad, so it makes sense that he wanted to cheat on his wife with Blitz. He was being verbally abused. And of course, Blitz is the only one who ever made him feel like a regular person without being pressured to do so. And one thing I liked in their relationship is their relationships with their daughters. I feel like Luna helps Octavia to kind of understand that there might be going on that Stolas has yet to talk about with his daughter, as well as it might help Octavia understand that Blitz isn't as much of an enemy as it appears to be. Again, this is a relationship that you kind of can't help but finding yourself falling in love with, even though right now Blitz has a lot of stuff to deal with. He's been through a lot of complicated relationships. Most of them were pretty bad and resulted in him having to shut himself out from everything else, even if it means going through a serious emotional meltdown. I think think in this case he's going to need more than just therapy at this point. A lot of people have pointed out that he's going through a major mental spiral, which I'm pretty sure is going to get stronger by the end of this season alone. And of course, Stolas also has his moments of reflection when he sings the song Stolas Sings. He reflects on how much Blitz means to him, as well as that Blitz is the only one who gave him that sense of longing to explore beyond the world that he's ever known, and just make him feel truly loved and wanted out of his life. These two just have so much in common. It's just unfortunate that right now their feelings are slowly being reciprocated later on in Season 2, Episode 2. There's still a lot of problems to fix with this relationship, but it does feel like it's taking a step in the right direction. They're taking a moment to kind of take a step back and reflect on how they're handling their relationship. Unfortunately, the only people who pointed out the messed up portion of it was Ozzy and Fizz, as messed up as it sounds, and it's unfortunate when villains are right half of the time. In this case, that's what's happening in their relationship. But anyway, thanks to Fizz and Ozzy pointing it out, it does give these two a moment to kind of admit that their relationship was messed up, and that they might need to try harder. Again, I mentioned that in Season 2, their relationship is progressing, but it's still got a long ways to go. I'm personally excited to see of where this relationship is going to evolve, because in some ways it has, especially where Stolas is starting to take interest in Blitz's personal agenda as well as personal feelings, recognizing the issues that Blitz has, as well as just giving him a moment to breathe, while Blitz is also recognizing that he may need to fix his own problems. We've yet to see more future episodes, but hopefully that will change sooner or later. Of course, this one is the worst of the relationships in Helluva Boss, for more reasons than one. Well, to put it more accurately, here are just a few clips that summarize of how a lot of the fandom feels about this. Right from the get-go, Stella has always been the princess of bad news, practically hurting these poor little creatures for a reason I have yet to understand why, but I'd rather not know. So yeah, Stella is cruel and callous beyond belief, much compared to the kind and gentle nature that Stolas is practically known for, which I think is probably the why she bullied him mercilessly all those years. She practically viewed him as nothing more than a little stepping stone for her own ego. It didn't help when they got older as the marriage continued. Apparently, she would bash in front of his face or when her friends are around. She even practically set up a party for not being divorced. Please, that's practically a "please divorce me" sign written all over her ugly little face. Plus, Stolas has to put up with her constant nagging and belittling. Even she doesn't bother to go help with Octavia. To make matters worse on top of that, well, she is Scream Queen for a reason. She practically yells halfway across the room whenever she's ticked off about even the littlest of things. I mean, I'm sure half of hell would hear, though they wouldn't care less about her plans to kill her own husband, but it's a very frustrating situation. So of course it's no wonder Stolas had a hard time to actually tell Octavia about his toxic relationship with her mother. I mean, can you imagine the conversation you're trying to say to your 17-year-old that her life was nothing more than a miserable lie, that her parents were nothing more than arranged marriage, and that her own mother could care less about either of them? Yow! So yeah, if some of you had said that Stolitz was practically toxic, this is the living epiphany of a nuclear landmine that's filled with gigantic rats and half the smell of cat pee to boot. So yes, this is by far the worst relationship in this episode, and I'm so glad these two are getting a divorce. Even I'm more happy that Stolas is actually standing up for himself for once. But I have a feeling that by the end of this series, it's going to get ugly. So folks, these are just my thoughts on these couples in terms of ranking, and I'd like to hear yours. Where would you place these pairings in general? Do a comment, subscribe, do a like, as well as I now have some polls available, so if some of you could go to my community tab, I would much appreciate it. This is Dragon Videos, signing off.